And folks, we're back. This is a special one. This will be on RGR. It'll also be on Locked On Chiefs because today is Matt's appearance, because one of the most frequent guests we've ever had, and we've been working together for a while now. This is episode 1000 for the Locked On Chiefs podcast. Yeah, really.
Congratulations. Congratulations. That's an honor to be here.
I appreciate you being here because your insight has been formidable on this show. And I just want to kind of take a segment just for us to kind of step back and think about how far it's come. Not only since we started the show. When we started the show, John Dorsey was in charge of this place.
Yes,
so
yes.
It's been quite a while. Following tragedy, everything as we shifted in, I started the first show in 2014. We became a couple of things. Chris joined and we moved on to this. And in the last few years, you've been a mainstay. And I just want to take a look back at when we first started speaking. You had just taken over Chiefs Digest from Herbie Pioli, who's now back at the Star after, rigmarole. That was Alex Smith days. Compare and contrast for me when we first started chatting, like Alex, the whole process up to where we are now.
Yeah, and I have to give a huge thank you to you guys, because you were amongst the first people to ever have me on. You and Cody Tapp over at 810 in Kansas City, when he was there at the time, were really the first two to ever, had me on any shows or anything. When I was really first starting out, when I took over Chiefs Digest from Herbie when he left for New Orleans. So that was huge for me. The fact that you guys gave me a platform and ability to talk to everybody and share my story and try to keep people informed of just what I saw with this team was huge. And I can't thank you guys enough for the exposure you've given me and the support you've given me over the years. But yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, Andy Reid's still there, so in one regard, not a lot has changed. There's a new defensive coordinator, that's changed. New quarterback, that's changed. But this team, I mean, it's culture. I mean, to me, that's what it is. So I mean, when I think back on it over 4 years ago when I took over from Herbie, some things have changed, but a lot stays the same with this team.
It's funny that you mentioned that way. And hey, our support has been mutual. I thank you for everything as well, because this has been, your insight is unique. There's a lot of guys that cover this team, and we hear from a lot of them. Even Therese still has a heavy influence on reporting Chiefs, but yours is unique, and it's a perspective we don't hear that often. So I'm glad that you're here, and I love that aspect of it. And that's part of the culture that's changed as well. And when you think about, there's still cheeseburgers at training camp, right? There's still, movie night or whatever, but the way that this whole organization flipped on its heel when Andy Reid landed, and you got to give John Dorsey some credit too, but it's not just the quarterbacks. It's not just the mechanical things. The main thread through this is Andy Reid and his relationship with Clark Hunt. And when you reflect on what's been going on socially lately and how Andy's come out in support of his players that have been standing up, it seems like a natural progression to me. Does that make sense to where you were a few years ago?
Yeah, and I like the way you framed it that way, because, going back, the 10 years in St. Joe since this team came back, and I'd gone up to the St. Joe just as an observer before I started covering the team. So, and before Andy came, and, to me, from an outside observer, from just at that point, you call me a fan, that kind of outside perspective, to me, the real difference has just been, the professionalism with which Andy Reid expects everything to happen. I mean, there's a story, and, I don't know how much this gets told and everything outside the media corps, but one of the rules that everybody who, covers the Chiefs for the first time gets told is don't lean against the fence. And that all stems back to the very first OTA practice with Andy Reid. And there was one of the media members that was out there on the field watching that day was leaning against the chain link fence and got absolutely lit into by the head coach. And it's never happened since. And part of that's because everyone gets told, no, you don't lean against the fence. That was it. I mean, because that goes back to, like I was talking about, the professional standard. I mean, Andy Reid sets it, and it's not just for his team; it's for the media and for the people who are standing there watching. I mean, you're going to follow his rules, and that's it. And that to me is, what this franchise is built on. I mean, it's built on that kind of accountability. And yeah, I mean, like I said, a lot of faces change and things. There's new people coming in all the time, but that's the culture on which this team is really built, and it's Andy Reid's culture.
And I think that that is not only key, obviously, to the progression that they've had to get to a championship, but it's also key to what I felt was a little bit of a blip there at first in the continuity between Lamar and Clark. And now they seem very much lockstep, that Andy is part of the overall decision-making for the whole organization. But when you look at the organization as a whole, from where it's come from the Pioli days to now, not only are there, bubblegum wrappers in the trash, but there's other things that have expanded. And it looks like this franchise is, in my years covering it, has really made momentum forward. And I think that it's getting even bigger as we start to hit a national audience with Pat Mahomes and with Clark on some of the more important committees in the NFL and how they move forward. This really could become the next national franchise to be a dynasty, right?
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that you just hear from people, and especially you look at the number of national media that are coming into Kansas City to cover the Chiefs, and the amount of attention that this team continues to get. I mean, the more and more attention this team gets, and a big part of it is just simply because, a lot of people around the league believe that this is the next dynasty, this is the next Patriots, this is the next Belichick Brady, and they want to be a part of it. I mean, they want to be on the ground floor. And I mean, I know, from my perspective, whenever, my days covering the NFL and the Chiefs ends, I absolutely know this is going to be, the stories I tell for years and everything is, having the opportunity to cover Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid at this time, because it is special. It's unique, and everybody feels that. I mean, and that's the thing, is that it's not just in the organization. It's everybody who comes in contact with this team feels it, I think.
Well, and I think there's something special about being there for the first one. And I do expect more, like you said. I'm with the group that feels that there's a dynasty in the building here. I know that this contract for Mahomes is going to be a big hurdle. It might be the biggest story that we cover in the next year. After covering his arrival in Kansas City, the acquisition and then the departure of Alex Smith. I mean, there's some big stories that have gone on while we've been doing this show. And I feel like there's some big ones yet to come, but when you put it up against all the other things, you hear other people who've covered the Patriots in particular before, who covered 2004, and everything subsequent is an accomplishment, but it's not the same. Like, how special is what we're living through right now?
I mean, exactly. And that was something that I heard a lot, at the Super Bowl, was, a lot of, from a lot of Chiefs fans who came down, whether they got to go to the game or not, or just wanted to come down and experience it. The common refrain that I heard was from everybody who believed, you know what, this team is built that it should come back to the Super Bowl again, but nothing will be the same as the first one. I mean, the first one's what everybody's going to point to. If Patrick Mahomes reels off 6 Super Bowls, none of the next 5 are not going to be as special as the first one. And, and that's why, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, these years are really special. I mean, and getting to experience, I think it's going to be something in retrospect that we probably will remember more fondly than maybe we did in the moment, because it's just, it's just one of those things that when you are in the moment, it's sometimes tough to savor it. But hey, you know what? That's something that Andy Reid tells his players, and he told his players at the Super Bowl, was savor this, because it's not going to be the same. I mean, you're going to change teams. It's going to be new faces. This team doesn't have a lot of new faces. But he told him and said, hey, you know what? It's never going to be the same. Enjoy it. Take a deep breath. And, I think that's one of the reasons why they won the Super Bowl, because Andy Reid set a really relaxed tone for that team that allowed them to go down there and I think play with a little more freedom than maybe they would have otherwise. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the beginning years, and I mean, not that it's not going to continue to be special, but I mean, this is the time everybody, I think, is going to be able to tell stories and be able to, enjoy the moments of the first few years of Patrick Mahomes in the league, just because, at some point it's going to get routine, and it's hard to believe, but at some point, if they continue to win, it will get routine and it won't be as special.
Yeah, it's strange. And I think part of it comes from a unique perspective that Andy Reid has, being, I mean, he's not a young guy. He's not a super, he's not at retirement age, but he's been down the road before. He's been in the Super Bowl and didn't get back. There are issues that I think come from trying to be in that longevity hunt. And I'm excited about where it's going, but it's got to be, I think, something that's going to be here maybe for the duration of Mahomes' tenure. We could see Andy Reid into the 70s, couldn't we?
Yeah, and that's a magical question that everybody asks, is how long will Andy Reid, stay in the league? How long will he keep coaching? And I mean, the simple answer is I think he's going to keep doing it as long as he enjoys it. And if he's got a guy like Patrick Mahomes, he's going to enjoy it for a long time. It's interesting. I mean, you see a little bit different Andy Reid, and in last week, I thought he showed his emotions and his thinking and his side of himself that he doesn't show very often. But everybody changes with age, and he's a grandfather now, and I think that maybe some of the moments that he missed with his own kids, now he's he might be thinking, and he certainly seems to enjoy times with his grandkids. He talks about them more and more, it seems like, with greater frequency. So you do wonder at some point, because Andy Reid seems like a lifer. I mean, he seems like a kind of guy that without football, he'd always be a little bit lost. So, I think there's a natural instinct to think that Andy Reid's going to coach as long as he possibly can. But then at the same time, I can also see that, the wall's starting to crumble down a little bit, that, this guy's got the monkey off his back now. He's done everything he needs to do for a Hall of Fame career. He knows he could walk away at any point. He's going into Canton. And, once you hit that point, then, I think you do start to think about things outside the game. And for him, I think it's going to be part of it's going to be when it's no longer fun. But I think it's also going to be just when he doesn't have that edge anymore, when he doesn't believe that, he's as cutting edge as he could possibly be. And that's because I don't think that Andy Reid wants to be the kind of guy that just wallows around the league. I think he always wants to be the guy that's at the forefront that everybody else is looking to.
Makes sense to me. I'm excited about where it's been and now where it's going to go for the next few years. Thanks for being here for this part of it.
Absolutely. And like I said, I really appreciate everything you guys have done for me. This has been a blast. And, the only time I think I told you this story before, the only time I've ever been noticed in public that somebody has come up to me and said, "Hey, aren't you Matt Derrick?" And it was the Chick-fil-A when I was going up to St. Joe one day. They're on Berry Road and I-29, stopped by for breakfast. And the guy that was checking me out looks at my credit card and goes, "Hey, are you Matt Derrick that's on the Locked On Chiefs podcast?"
Oh, humble beginnings to where you are now.
The only time I've ever been noticed in public.
Well, folks, pay attention. You'll notice him around town. Thanks, man. This has been great.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. Good talking to you.
Folks, that is our 1000th episode. Thanks for watching and for listening. We'll catch you next time.